he loses a draw, Wild never get the puck and lose the game immediately. So to me, go to start with two forwards. You either have Koivu take the draw and head to the bench, or Stahl take the draw and head to the bench if you win it, which I don't know neither would be happy about. Or you start with a center like Eriksson Ek, but you have another forward like Fiala next to him with the Spurgeon. And to me, the only D in overtime that should see the ice are Spurgeon and Hunt and Brodin and Dumba. To me, it's not that difficult. And then up front, to only speed. And one guy I would use is Zuccarello still. To me, he hasn't shown me enough that he shouldn't be out there yet. I know that he's still not the greatest skater in the world, and probably Bruce is looking at him as one of those 30-year-old forwards. But the reality is he has 4 career overtime goals, and he is their best playmaker up front. So I would use him. But to me, the older guys can't play. This is too long, too many points that they throw away year after year after year because they're absolutely incompetent in overtime. And so, I know that he doesn't have a lot to work with, Bruce. This is not a fast team. It's an older team. There's not a lot of goal power and things like that. But to me, coaching is still an area on this where you can at least help it get better. And that's with personnel moves that are smarter, and it's killing them. It just is. Four overtime losses now in the last 12 games.
I kind of understood when Yo was indebted and to the organization for bringing in Suter and Parise. Suter and Parise were obviously big power brokers. They had the ear of the owner, and it was pretty obvious they were going to get to play pretty much when and where they wanted to play. It seems interesting to me that Boudreau, as kind of almost a lame duck, is still letting Suter have his way.
Yeah, I will say Suter's played 3 or 4 less minutes a game than he has in years past, so they're definitely taking control of that. But this isn't. I don't think this is just Suter having his way. I think this is Boudreau still believing that Suter can get it done. And look, 5-on-5, Suter for the most part has been really good this year. He really has, whether you want to believe it or not. And we saw last night, actually, to me, I thought in the Boston game, he for the most part was good. I thought he was good in New York, and I thought he was good last night. So, he had a pretty decent road trip, but 3-on-3 is not his cup of tea, and he shouldn't be out there, and that's on the coach.
Oh, no question about it. Let's go to some Twitter questions. We don't always get to a ton of Twitter questions, but into our live shows, this is an opportunity to catch up on some of those. Reminder, Tony Hoagland, Hoaglund, handles my insurance, handles Michael's insurance. We had a listener get a hold of me the other day, say he wants to work with Tony after hearing about him on our show, and I highly recommend that.
Hi, Talk North listeners. I wanted to let you all know about State Farm's new program called Quotes for Good. We partner with local nonprofits to raise money for great causes. For the Russo-Souhan Show, I'll be donating $16 to the Jason and Carly Zucker Give 16 campaign that benefits the University of Minnesota Masonic Children's Hospital. When you call in, be sure to mention the show so that we can track the donations. You can reach us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at champlininsurance.com.
From John Nutzman, a request for a little hockey 101. Not all faceoffs are won cleanly. What is the criteria the officials use when determining who won a faceoff?
Pretty much full possession. Who eventually gets the puck, and you're right. They're not won cleanly. So if a puck is a 50-50 puck, and the winger or the defenseman get in there and help them secure possession, then the center will get credit for the faceoff win or the faceoff loss.
I still remember Doug Riseborough asked him that question once, and he actually made me get down in a crouch and showed me how it's the guy crashing who is more important in a lot of cases. Unless you have a true face-off specialist, it's the guys crashing who really determine who wins the face-off.
Yeah, no, how many times have we seen that? The Wild scored a perfect example. Actually, was Fiala on the goal by Parise yesterday. Koivu wins it. It's a 50-50 puck. Fiala goes and digs it out, gets it to Suter, and next thing you know, 4 seconds later, it's a goal. And so a lot of times it's up to the wearers to help out in those situations.
From NH on Twitter, which player currently on the Wild would be the most likely to start a podcast after they are retired?
Probably Stalock. He's the first one that comes to mind. Loves to talk. He's very funny. The Wild have mic'd him up on the bench a couple times. I remember one really funny one in Vegas last season, and he's got some chirps. I'd love to see like a Stalock Ryan Carter podcast. That'd be a really funny one.
Yeah, actually. From Russo Slacks, what are you most thankful for so far this NHL season, Michael?
I don't know, man.
You can say pass.
Pass.
All right, pass. From J.R. Huber, big picture doomsday. What the Detroit Lions are to the NFL, I'm worried the Wild are to the NHL. What's the fix? The owner isn't going away. Do fans have to go away? That's what I'm doing now. It's one thing to lose, it's another thing to be inept. Any response at all, Michael?
They have a 7-game point streak. I wouldn't call them inept right now. I mean, look, I don't know how to answer that question. It's a new GM. I think anybody with eyes look at this and say that it's going to take a little time to build this team to where the other teams are in terms of young talent and things like that. But it's going to take some time. So I don't know what to say from that. I mean, they're getting Kaprizov coming. They're going to get hope if they don't make the playoffs this year, potentially a top pick in the draft. We'll see. It's a matter of just building this thing up. So.
From Zach Raskovich, does the coaching staff run any special focus sessions on finishing high danger chances? I saw we were near the top of the league in scoring chances. Burying them would obviously help. Thanks. Great listen. Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, that's player personnel. There's no focus groups. They did have their, I think his name is, I'm going to get it wrong, Jean-Paul Gonzalez, maybe? The guy that came to Val in training camp to talk to them, given the all-in poker chips and as kind of a motivational speaker. They met with them. He met with them in New York right before the morning skate in against the Rangers the other day. So maybe that counts as a focus group or however the follower described it. But the players are who they are. I mean, this isn't on the coaches. They just don't have the personnel that finishes. The system is the system. And you're right. I mean, you're creating high danger chances. You're limiting high danger chances. Now it's up to the players to actually put the puck in the net. They've been doing it pretty well lately. And now it's just a matter of finishing, but you can't turn these, Leopard can't change its spots. You can't turn these players into all of a sudden a bunch of Patrick Laine's and Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid's and Leon Draisaitl's and players like that.
Monty asked about 3-on-3 in the overtime. I think we already answered that. From Eric Vigo. What are the worst officiating gaffes you've ever reported on?
What's yours, Jim?
Well, I mean, Joe Mauer hits the ball, like 3 feet fair in Yankee Stadium, and it gets called foul. I mean, it just can't happen. It absolutely can't happen. And it's one of the many things that has kept the Twins from ever winning a game against the Yankees. Obviously, the Yankees have outplayed the Twins almost all the time, but there have been a couple of really weird calls that have also hurt the Twins.
Yeah, the only ones that pop in my head right now is I remember we were in Vancouver one year. It was, I think, the year before Doug Riseborough was fired, and Pascal Dupuis shot a puck that crossed the goal line. They allegedly couldn't find the camera angle to show it before. They dropped the puck, and then all of a sudden they found it. And if you ask Tom Lynn and some of the people around the Wild, that team, I mean, they wound up missing the playoffs by a point. That was a huge lost point that game. And so, that really hurts. I remember the Marty Jelena goal in Calgary that I was covering during the Stanley Cup Finals in 2004. He should have scored. He didn't. Tampa wins the game and goes back home and wins Game 7. That goal by Jelena would have probably won the series for Calgary and Calgary. Stuff like that. I mean, the one last night in New Jersey, it's just a bad mistake. I still don't understand how it's possible that the people that wrote the rule book somehow didn't get it right, but they did. It was just a bizarre circumstance. I mean, first of all, it's sort of two different rules. One, the fact that 4 officials missed the high stick to begin with is one thing that's pretty egregious. But then to have the 2 referees in concert with the Situation Room that probably wasn't full last night with a bunch of people that might have gotten this right. So maybe they were short staffed or whatever, but somehow they didn't really remember it's like they were going off the original rule book when on October 1st they put out a clarification email on the rule. So it's almost like they were using the wrong rule book or something. But somehow, so there was, it was just a bizarre circumstance. So you have the original missed call, then you have them reviewing something that Brad Meyer says wasn't reviewable. And then he announces it wasn't reviewable when he was wrong to begin with, and then still gives the Wild a penalty. So my question is, how can you review something that's not reviewable and then give them a penalty for getting the review wrong? I mean, it's just so dumb. So I think that was a mistake. And then the trifecta was the fact that they screwed it up all to begin with. That was a high stick. That they put out a specific email on this exact circumstance, October 1st, and that's if you high stick a puck in the neutral zone, but it's played in the offensive zone, then that's where the stoppage is, and thus the coach's challenge should have been successful. So it was a hat trick of screw ups yesterday, and luckily for the Wild, it didn't cost them the game, because I think Boudreau would have had a conniption fit, especially after some of the horrendous officiating that they've seen this year. I mean, that major in San Jose was absolutely mind-boggling, and then to me, still, I just don't understand the gripe that Graham Skeletor had with the Wild that won St. Louis game about a month ago.
I'm going to get to as many Twitter questions as we can today. Thanks to everybody who's listened and made Talk North a success. Do want to thank Tinshed, tinshedmn.com. Basically, go to tinshedmn.com. They have coupons. You can see all their specials. Their buy one, get one free pizzas. Their kids eat free specials. They have a big game room. They also have big screen TVs. They have the NFL on all the time. They have college games on all the time. Great place to watch Gopher and Viking football over this weekend. And they have beer specials, everything. So, tinshedmn.com. And also remember, we have a deal with Bite Squad, bitesquad.com. Use the promo code TalkNorth to get your first delivery fee waived. They also run constant specials. So after you use that, go to bitesquad.com, see what they have in your area, including their members only deal. From Will Tomlinson, he asked if Leopold would send him on more trips since he got 3 out of 4 points in the games he went to on this trip. And his serious question, if Kakkonen kept this up, is there a situation where the Wild would keep 3 goalies? You just can't do that, can you?
Yeah, I can't see it because, that first of all, it just never works. It becomes chaotic. It's become chaotic for the Wild before when they've done that. And the other thing is, you want Kakkonen playing every night. And unless Kakkonen is going to be here and be the number one, then it absolutely makes no sense. Just have him sitting here. So if there's times where you need him, you just call him up if you want to have 3 goalies. But to me, you don't keep it full time. To keep it. And it was good meeting Will. Will is a Wild fan from Nottingham. First time he's ever seen the Wild live was at the Ranger game and at the Devils game. And so I got to meet him. He told me the story of how he became a Wild fan, which, I'll let him tell. It sounds a little private, but basically 7 years ago, he basically picked a team. He'd always supported the Vikings. And so he picked Minnesota Wild. And so he flew over, spending Thanksgiving in New York, and he's going to see the Canes game tonight, I think. And he brought me a puck from Nottingham as well, where Brett Bulmer plays hockey now, the former Wild second-round pick, and where Chris Stewart played last year as well. It's pretty cool because he's telling me I'm talking to him during between periods, and I'm chatting with him, and all of a sudden I get a text from Nino. This just shows you how classy Nino is. So I needed Nino for a story. I've been trying to get him on the phone for like the last week. And so he realized this. And so yesterday he knew I was obviously covering the Wild game or against the Rangers the other day. So he actually at 7-something at night, 8 p.m. at night, paid attention to the Minnesota game, knew when the intermission was going to happen, and then texted me to call him. Which just tells you everything about the guy. At 8-something at night, he's paying attention that he had to call me back and that he knew he didn't. So he called me during the game, but didn't want to do it when play was going on. That's why you cover hockey right there,
Yeah, that you wouldn't get that from many other people. That's pretty special. From Brett Winthizer, with Boldy, Warren, and McBain all playing together at BC, can you think of any other examples of a group of guys coming up, playing together, and then ending up on the same NHL roster?
I was just, maybe some of the USA hockey teams got when Coyle and Zucker were together and things like that. But no, not really. Maybe this will turn out to be something that's good for them in the future. We'll see.
From Fetty Dean, what's your gut sense? Is this Wild team still not playoff bound despite better goaltending and improved offense?
I guess my biggest concern